Hi everyone, welcome back to our Ultrasound Unplugged podcast with Franchise Fridays. I'm Destiny, I'll be your host. I'm the business manager here at Ultrasound-Services, and I'm here with Chris.
Good morning.
Okay. Today we're going to be doing 7 questions about ultrasound services and a little bit of chatting here and there. Disregard my voice, I'm losing it a little bit today. But we're going to go ahead and get started. One of the big questions that we get asked, maybe that surprises people, is if we take insurance. And the answer is yes, we do. But it's only for our medical scans, which means it has to be a diagnostic study that comes along with a doctor's order. So this can be, a pelvic exam, an abdomen, a thyroid exam. But our, even our elective exams are affordable out-of-pocket prices. But I wanted to talk a little bit about, with you, Chris, tell us a little bit of how it was. What made you decide to start accepting insurances, and what was your experience like with them when you first launched having services like that?
Yeah, again, I'm Chris. I'm the co-owner of Ultrasound-Services. Thank you, Destiny, for the intro. I hope you keep your voice to the rest of it. Insurances are a big part of what we do. We started taking them initially because we knew we wanted to help as many people find our location and our services as possible. When you're dealing with providers and patients, you want to make sure that you're able to give them access to your services. In the beginning, we were getting a lot of calls. They knew that we did self-pay, but they did not know if we took their insurances or not. And so after taking probably several hundred to 1,000 calls, you start to realize that, okay, maybe we do need to get on board with all of the insurances or as many insurances as we can so we don't have to turn patients away. Mm-hmm. And so not just patients, but doctors. Providers would call us and ask us if we had order forms. If they once they got the order forms, they would see that we didn't have insurances, so they would ask us about that, and they would ask us when we were going to be in network with those insurances. Oh. And so it early on it became a stumbling block that we wanted to quickly try to rectify. Saying the words "quickly try to rectify" and bringing on insurance is a catch-22. It's a conundrum. It doesn't actually exist. Usually bringing on just a simple insurance or an individual insurance takes anywhere from 180 days to 365 days. I mean, it could be even a year to 2 years to 10 years. It really is an uphill battle that you don't know if you're going to win or not, so you have to keep plugging, keep trying. We've been open for 12 and a half years now, almost 13 years, and it took us 12 years to get just one of our insurances on board. Mm-hmm. And so you really run into that early on, how hard it is to get insurances, and you try to be proactive, fill out the applications, the credentialing applications as many times as you can throughout the year. You're going to get possibly a lot of no's, but at the same time, you still have to keep pushing forward.
Yeah, and do you have any, experiences you want to share whenever you were dealing with the companies?
Well, we had a VP of one of the insurance companies, regional vice president, literally got on the phone and said, "Hey, why did you turn us down after going through, the review process?" He said, "We just don't need you." And I was like, is it because we're too small? Is it because there's too many? And eventually he got around to saying they have enough providers in their system that they just don't need one small individual company. Oh. And so I thought that was really, he was honest about it, and I can understand that. And this is one of the reasons why we're trying to expand now, because we know that those companies, those insurances, want to allow participants that have access and have availability for their membership. And so you can't just knock on these doors and say, "Oh, little pig, let me in," and they let you in. The big bad wolf is there, and they're saying, "Okay, you're not big enough. You don't have enough member base. You're not spread out across a big enough territory. it really is a true analysis of your company and a true slap in the face when you realize that your company just isn't big enough to warrant them giving you access as a provider or an ancillary facility. So that's just one story. I mean, there are other insurances that we've had conversations with that we've eventually said, yeah, we're not going to take that insurance. Oh, yeah. And we've turned some away. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to let you in. Like I said, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to make it easy for you to bill their insurance. They could set you up wrong in the system, and now you're plugging along, scanning patients, and now your bills get denied because you're a chemotherapy lab as opposed to an ancillary facility that does ultrasounds. And so there are things that have happened like that you just have to try to fix them as quickly as possible and rectify the situation so you can see patients.
Well, that's interesting. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our next question then. So another question that we get asked is, do you need a referral? And the answer to that is, if you are needing a diagnostic exam, yes, you do. And also if you're using insurance as well, you would need an order for that. This, again, you could check our website if you want to understand more about what is a diagnostic exam versus what is an elective. But the elective scans, you can book on your own through our website, or you can use Care Credit or Affirm or Afterpay with those. But while we're on the topic of referrals, to you, Chris, what were you thinking when you came up with the process in terms of needing orders versus not? Trying to make it easier for people who need to walk in, or people who maybe can't go through the hassle of needing a referral?
When you start talking about diagnostic, referrals is a big component of that. Typically, we need to know why a patient is here before they actually get here. So to make sure that we're doing the appropriate exam with the appropriate diagnosis. And so when you start talking about, do you need a referral, you start to have to question, okay, all of those minimal components that go into either insurance or, at a minimum, why are you here? And so for the most part, all of our diagnostic exams do require orders, with the exception of a pregnancy confirmation. A pregnancy confirmation, the only reason it doesn't need one is because we want to be able to check and make sure that you are pregnant at that 6 week or 7 week or 8 week early on, to kind of give you some peace of mind to know that there is a pregnancy there. However, just because there's not an order for that or a referral for that required, we still send the final report for that exam to a radiologist to be read, so we can confirm without a doubt the gestation, if there is one, how far along you are in the pregnancy possibly, or if there is a pregnancy possibly. So we had to consider those things, the necessity of it, the medical necessity of it. Do we want to shy away from the current procedures, or do we want to maybe incorporate like a pregnancy confirmation that doesn't require it? And you have to balance the two and figure out, what's best for your facility.
Yeah.
I hope that helped.
Oh, no, yeah. It did. I mean, I think a lot of people take advantage of the pregnancy confirmations, as they should. And I think it's a really good balance in between, like, both diagnostic and elective exams. And like I mentioned before, Care Credit is another question we get asked. So, what if you don't have Care Credit? And while Care Credit is great, we understand that, it's a credit check, it takes an application process. And so we actually offer Afterpay and Affirm as well. And those are just apps that you download on your phone. It splits it up into payments for you without a credit check. And so I was going to ask you, how did you come up with even accepting those payment plans here? Because not a lot of, I'd say, imaging places would accept those. They're more geared towards shopping, I would say.
Right.
And have there been any stories when someone was able to get the care they needed because we had the payment plans?
Yeah, we started accepting them Shannon and I, the other owner, we've been kind of keeping our ear to the ground to see what types of payment platforms we're going to start accepting these types of payments, and for what. Probably a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, we started inquiring on these websites like Afterpay to see, because this was starting to become a little bit bigger thing, Affirm and Afterpay. And so we wanted to see if we could participate. I know it took both of those platforms a while to incorporate or allow for healthcare services, to actually start using them. And I think getting involved early on and letting them know early on that we wanted to participate and actually offer it at our facilities actually helped. But actually engaging in the practice of it and using it when patients are here is a little different. You really want to let folks know before they get here, patients and clients know before they get here, because they may not have gone through and may not be aware of the same processes to use it that we are, because we were trying to bring it on board. Okay. And so, it's a bit of a learning curve when you're trying to do it in front of somebody at a reception desk, as opposed to, reading it on the website. So, we try to encourage patients and clients to have it set up before they get here, be prepared. We give them what the cost is going to be before they ever even leave their homes. It's again, the ability to give more access to patients and clients so they can afford to do the diagnostic exams was the primary reason for reaching out to those platforms to offer.
Yeah. I would, if I was, a patient looking for an imaging facility, I would definitely take advantage of those. But we're going to go ahead and move on to our next question, which is going to be, people ask if we are ADA compliant, and the answer to that is yes, we are. But we just want to kind of talk about how being ADA compliant isn't just, checking off boxes. It also, in our opinion, is about patient care and comfort. A lot of people may think it's just, ramps or, maybe bars to hold on to, something like that. But we actually, just as an example, our patient bed in our exam room is not just, it actually is, electric. It moves up and down. It can be adjusted in any way. And it's just one of the things that we chose to have higher quality in. For partially, obviously, it was more than just this reason, but this was a big part of it, being available for the people that need it. And so my question to you, Chris, is going to be, can you talk about what went into making each location accessible and inclusive, and was there like a specific moment or maybe a specific patient that made you realize how important that was? I know you are a veteran yourself, so maybe that's what sparked it with you.
Well, I would like to say it started with me, but we've had several patients over the years that have been in wheelchairs that were here for IVF, that were consistently here, and they consistently needed a place that could be accessible. And so when we were looking at this place or this location specifically, and all of the locations, we look at the ADA accessibility. We know that our payers, our contracts tend to require that we are ADA compliant and ADA accessible. And so it is truly that factor, not alone, but one of those factors that again, accommodations. You want to be able to accommodate as many patients as you can. And when you do see a patient, and you do have a patient come into your facility time and time again that requires, that accessibility, and you see how well it helps them, and they commend you or thank you for that, I think it really resonates with our staff, with our owners, with the folks that we help. And so it's something that we just constantly look for. How can we help? How can we be of service to all, not just to those that aren't ADA?
Yeah, and I know not too long ago, there was actually a patient who brought up a concern to us in our spring location, right? That there wasn't a ramp close enough to our entrance. And, that isn't something necessarily in our control, but I know you decided to take that into your own hands and try to get a ramp built for right in front of our entrance, too. So you guys really do care about trying to be accessible.
We want everybody to be accommodated. ADA guidelines over the years from 2013 to now have clearly changed. And so when you talk about a property being built in 2013 and the guidelines have changed that much in that short of a period of time, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to stop and not change things. You still possibly want to go back and help if you can. And so, you see a need, you try to help as best you can when you can, and make that change.
Yeah, I agree. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our next question. This will be question number 5. So a lot of people tell us that our images are very clear, and maybe that you're wondering how our images look the way they do. The reason for that is because we actually have top tier, very top quality machines. And you can go ahead and compare them to other maybe imaging places around the area, and you will see the difference. So my question to Chris is going to be, what made you invest in high-end machines? Did you do this early on? Did you kind of get more into it as you grew? Did you get pushback for spending more on tech, or did you know it would pay off?
Early on, Shannon, I'm not going to take the credit for all of that. I look at a lot of things from a budgetary perspective, but at the same time, you have to balance the needs of the patients and needs of the clients. And so you want to find a happy medium when you're starting out. Usually when you're starting out, you're on a smaller budget. And so that tends to be the challenge, is how do you balance, getting started with, what you need to actually perform your job. And so we started out with a Vivid Eye, a GE Vivid Eye, which was then a really good machine. We've since changed to a few other machines, the Voluson and the E10. And so as we grew, we knew that we needed to possibly upgrade our machines. And so as we grew, we did upgrade those machines. And so over the years, we've every location has either gotten a newer machine with a much newer operating system, or BT. And so we knew that those were going to be necessary for the types of exams that we were going to be doing. And so we just try to keep up with that. And so every 3 or 4 years, we will get either a new machine or start phasing one of our older machines out, rather than, like some facilities, they'll wait, 5 or 10 years, the full term of which they usually lease or purchase a machine to get that return on investment. But
so you cared more about the quality versus
I think we've had the opportunity to look at other people's images. A lot of people are sharing images these days, and so you can go out onto Instagram and Facebook and their posts, and you can see the quality or the lack thereof. And so we didn't want to be in that same boat, so we tried to make sure that we were constantly upgrading. That does tend to cost a little more, but it also gives you gives your patient base and your client base a better sense that they've gotten the best bang for their buck when they come here.
Yeah, a lot of people enjoy their experience here.
Radiologists too, they want to be able to read these exams.
That's true. With
some clarity, and to be able to get these exams and final reports back without minimal
like back and forth.
Exactly. Yeah. They want to be able to read these clearly, smoothly, and without any obscurity. So when you start talking about transmitting these across IT networks, the degradation that you could have in a DICOM image, you don't want that to happen. And so upgrading them to the best that we can get is generally what's necessary.
Okay, so we'll move on to our question 6. That's going to be, is this just for pregnant women? And no, that is a common misunderstanding maybe people don't realize. You can see it in our name. So Ultrasound-Services, this encompasses multiple services with ultrasound. And some people even think that we only do diagnostic exams for OB, and that's also not true. We do ultrasounds for pelvic pain, fertility issues, abdominal scans. We do thyroid checks, and much more than just that. I mean, we check for blood clots. And so with that, I was going to ask, do you remember a time when someone came in thinking that this was just an elective or baby clinic, if you want to say, and left maybe surprised, or they wanted to advocate that more? And then another question is, how do you educate the public that we are a diagnostic? Is it through social media?
Yeah, this is a really good question, and especially for me, because I get this all the time. You would think after 12 and a half years, almost 13 years, that we wouldn't get somebody saying that you just do baby ultrasounds.
Yeah, but people
we do. We still today get, if I tell somebody that I own an ultrasound imaging company, they will almost immediately, the first thing out of their mouth is, "Oh, you scan babies." Mm-hmm. And we will probably never be able to get out of that. It will probably always happen. Mm-hmm. I think there's a reason behind that, because people's experience with ultrasound, it typically tends to start with a pregnancy or a scan of a baby. And so if they're going to somebody for a breast exam, it's usually for maybe check for a cyst or for cancer or something like that. And so the fear of that, or a testicular exam where there's maybe hydrocele or torsion, those are scary ultrasounds, or can be scary, or can lead to anxiety about a problem that can be a very serious issue. And so most people kind of put that out of their mind, and they like to think about the fun things. Okay, yeah, you scan babies, yes. And so you're right, we do diagnostic exams, and we do various types of diagnostic exams, but what really resonates with people is, okay, the fun stuff. We do baby exams, we see babies, we take pictures of babies, and so I get that, and I have gotten that, and so I accept that. And so, but I also do tend to, after that statement comes out of their mouth, I will tend to say, yeah, we do breast exams, thyroid exams. Oh, you do thyroid exams? Yes, we do thyroid exams, pelvic exams, echocardiograms. Some people, believe it or not, I will tell them, we do echocardiograms, and they say, well, why do you do echocardiograms? And I said, well, because our owner she specializes in echocardiograms. And so our heart in our logo is because we at the time did echocardiograms. Oh. And so I'm okay with somebody saying, oh, you just do babies. But the bigger picture is we're here to help with every type of ultrasound. And that's kind of the reason why we are labeled Ultrasound-Services. Our logo says it all, not just some. And so...
how do you get people to know that?
Instagram is helping us with that. Facebook certainly helps with that. Partnering with IVF places, having conversations, and educating. We have students that come here. We teach them, how to do exams, and so it's not just all baby, but that's okay. The word gets out as we see thousands of patients every year. Those patients will send to us new patients and new family members, and they will start to realize.
We get a lot of that, actually. Back when I used to do reception, people would say, like, oh, yeah, my friend recommended this place to me. And that was for a pregnancy. But, I mean, if someone comes in for a pregnancy and then needs a thyroid check, like maybe 2 years later, they'll probably come back here.
And I think that's the thing. A lot of times the pregnancy exams will turn into thyroid exams, will turn into transvaginal pelvic exams, will turn into, oh, let me get my kid's echocardiogram done here for school. So there is truly benefit to saying, yeah, we do baby exams.
Yeah.
Used to, I didn't think so. When we started out as diagnostic, and I didn't want to be known as that. And so you have to actually, accept what it is. It is a transitional point at which you can start talking about other things that are also medically necessary. And so there's a little bit of there's a little coffee in it.
Yeah, that's
that machine
will be a staple in our podcast.
So it's whether I like it or not is irrelevant. What matters is that we're getting access to people that can afford what we do, that can come here and enjoy coming to a place that is friendly, inviting, and also cost effective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think we have like not a cozy environment, but it's definitely not like going to a hospital or going to like some other doctor's office. But so I'm going to go ahead and ask our last question. So a lot of people may wonder, how is this a franchise, or how did the idea come about? And I would say what makes it a franchise, we have systems in place. Everything we talked about today, from our systems to our tech that we use, our payment options, our policies, that's only part really of what makes us franchise ready. I mean, we're already in the process right now. And so my question to you would be, when did you realize that you could franchise this, and what kind of people are you looking for as potential franchise owners?
Oh, great questions. Probably 5 years ago, I knew then that we would probably start working on the franchise process. We started doing research, looking at other companies, looking at other franchise models, trying to figure out, was it feasible for us to do this? Mm-hmm. And a lot of the times in business, you do feasible studies to see if something could be done, if it could be duplicated. Technically, we don't have to have 5 locations. We could just have 1 location and do a franchise. Mm-hmm. But we wanted to continue to grow at the same time. And so I think that's when about 5 years ago we said, okay, let's go ahead and start doing the research, preparing to invest time and effort into creating the system.
It was a lot of time and effort.
Yeah, it's been a lot of time and effort. You learn a lot digging into the documentation. Mm-hmm. You learn a lot about what you're actually doing, how it actually functions, even though you already know because you've done it, mm-hmm. but putting it together in a concept and putting it to paper is different.
And making it to where it can be replicated easily.
Replicated easily, quickly, and getting business in the door fast. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the hardest part about opening a location, is getting things done very quickly is not a simple task.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the times, as I said earlier at the very beginning, bringing an insurance on board, if it took 12 years, I mean, mm-hmm. there's nothing fast about that. So there's a lot of barriers to entry that sonographers and entrepreneurs will find as they start the process, and we're hoping to eliminate almost all of those barriers before they ever get started, mm-hmm. so they can just start operating.
So what kind of people are you looking for? Or what kind of qualities, let's say, do you look for?
Business-minded. It could be a sonographer, could be an entrepreneur, somebody that has some business acumen, maybe has some scanning skills, mm-hmm. Maybe a little diagnostic, a little 3D. If I could say my ideal candidate would be a little bit of all of those things.
Yeah.
Somebody that may have an ultrasound place now that wants to buy into a franchise and be a part of a brand, mm-hmm. as opposed to whatever they're currently operating. They could convert it. A current operating facility may already have the skill set to do what we do, just mm-hmm. maybe on a bigger scale.
Yeah. And
so it's a little bit of everything. You want somebody that's got a little bit of business background, a little bit of tenacity. It's not an easy trait to find, but at the same time, I know there are franchise owners that are out there now that could possibly benefit to buying into another franchise, mm-hmm. if they are able to, or converting. Yeah. So there's people out there.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me again today. Thank you for all of you who are listening to our podcast. Remember, this is Ultrasound Unplugged. You can follow our socials on Instagram or Facebook at Ultrasound-Services. You can check out our website if you're interested in just knowing more about what we do, maybe learning a little bit about us, or if you're interested in franchising, we have a page for that too. Yeah. And we hope that you have a really good weekend, and thank you again for tuning in.
Thank you.